Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of MGR Unplugged. We have a great show today. I'm going to call this show the California Dreaming Show. For those of you who are wanting to move or live in California, think twice. We're going to have some information that is going to make you think twice about what it is like to live in that state, including you, David. I know you're a big fan.
It's really a shame. It's really a shame, honestly. Because I think it is probably the best place to, as far as the location. Forget about like everything else. Just the pure location.
Easy. Let me
Okay, go ahead.
Don't spill the beans just yet.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
know you love
well,
California.
I'm sure people have heard. It's not a secret.
No, it's not a secret, but we may have some information that people don't know. But yeah, California dreaming is becoming a nightmare now for a lot of people. So, but before that, we're gonna also talk a little bit about sports and some of the things, and a little more of a follow-up on some of the things that we discussed last week. So let's get started right away, and we'll be right back.
None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
All right, welcome back. David, thank you for joining me again. I know you're a little disappointed. Suns didn't make it to the playoffs as much as you...
Well, you know,
they did win.
The nice thing is that it's, you know, when we last recorded this podcast last Thursday,
Yeah. They were still 7-0 or something.
they were 7-0. They finished 8-0. I've had my mourning period, so it's over now. I'm over it. You know, if we recorded this on like Friday, I probably would have been sad. But
You should have seen David over the weekend. He was totally distraught. He kept talking about the Suns forever.
I was in denial. I was crying.
And then
you
the playoffs are started now, and then his most frequently said line is that
because it's true.
the Suns could have been
Oh,
this
it's
team.
so true.
The Suns could have been this team.
Listen. Anybody who watched the Portland Lakers game, if the Suns were there instead of Portland, the Lakers suck. Did you watch that game?
Well, they're in California. We're just talking about California.
Well, you know, LeBron was California dreaming and moved to LA, and now he's saying, I got to get the fuck out of LA because my team sucks.
Well, he moved to the Western Conference, which is much, much more difficult to get to the finals than sweeping
leaves.
every team in the Eastern Conference. And then
The biggest problem LeBron's ever had is that he's always by himself, other than basically when he was in Miami. He's always by himself. Like in Cleveland, you know, Kyrie and Kevin Love couldn't stay healthy for the life of them, other than the 1 year in 2016. You know, if you remember his last year in Cleveland by himself, Kyrie left and went to the Celtics, and then Kevin Love was injured. And he dragged that fucking sorry team all the way to the finals only to get swept. And it's like he just never has help. And now he has Anthony Davis, but he has nobody else.
Anthony Davis
and then on top of that, Anthony Davis,
plays 3 quarters. He doesn't get paid full time.
Anthony Davis, and I've been a huge Anthony Davis guy since for years. Since he was on the Pelicans for years, I always thought this guy's really good. He just needs an opportunity to be on a good team. Like he needs another good player with him, basically. He has been so disappointing. I mean, he is the least aggressive. The dude is a fucking giant. He's bigger than everybody on the court, and he's out there shooting threes. Get your ass in the paint, dude. What are you doing? When the final possession of that game, or the final few possessions that people watched, he was on the perimeter for they're down. They need to score. You have a minute left. You are down 4 or whatever they were, or down 3. You need to score. And he's like out on the perimeter, not under the basket. Get your ass under the basket,
How did we
dude.
shift from the Suns to all this game
Well, because
recap?
the Suns would kick their ass. Fuck. Ayton, I mean, he's a young guy, but I feel like he'd be giving AD trouble at this point because Anthony Davis has been the most at one point, I don't know if people remember this if they're not big basketball fans, but about 2 years ago when Anthony Davis was still on the Pelicans, people were saying Anthony Davis might be the best player in the league. Because if you remember, I don't know if you remember this because you aren't a big basketball fanatic like me, they swept Portland in the first round of the playoffs 2 years ago. And that was basically Anthony Davis without anybody. He just dominated Portland. And then they played the Warriors in the second round, and they lost. It was the Warriors, whatever. But that was like, oh, okay, this guy really might be the best player in the league because he's basically the size of He's one of the biggest players, but also he has the dribble, the finesse. He can shoot. Like, he is probably the most could be the most unstoppable player in the league. And since then, he just hasn't made the leap. Like, Anthony Davis has made it clear that he will never be the number one guy on a team.
Well, but do you think that he's from being the number one at the Pelicans now when he moved to LA?
He requested the trade.
Well, I understand that, but don't you think that maybe because LeBron is on the team?
No,
he
because
kind of
LeBron plays very passive now. Because LeBron's 35. He knows I can't just go drop 40 a game.
Right, but that's my point. That
And
maybe
be sustainable.
AD is saying, okay, this is gonna be kind of like LeBron's team until he retires, and then it'll become my team if he stays with the Lakers. He's gonna take a little more of a second role,
It should
supporting
be AD's
role.
team. AD's in his prime. LeBron is not in his prime. I love LeBron,
Yes.
but LeBron's not in his prime anymore. LeBron's 35.
But it's a little bit of what happened with Kobe Bryant when he was with the Lakers too. That
yeah, but
he was on at the end of his career, but he still was the leading.
yes, of
person
course.
on the
LeBron
team.
is still gonna always be a leader. He's fucking LeBron James. He's one of the greatest players of all time. So of course he's always gonna be a leader. But LeBron has said it himself. And look at the way LeBron plays. LeBron had like 16 assists the other night.
Yeah,
I mean,
completely unselfish. Too much.
He's doing. I don't blame him. He's saying, listen, I as much as he might want to, he can't just bully his way to scoring like he used to when he would just fucking shove dudes out of the way.
Or be in offense and then run to defense and
Right,
block
I mean,
a
he
shot.
doesn't have. It's fine. He's older now. He's 35. AD is like 27, 28. He's
Right.
in his prime. This is supposed to be. Anthony Davis 2 years ago said after that Portland series, and then when they lost to the Warriors, he said going into that season that he wanted to win the MVP and show the world that he's the greatest basketball player in the world. So I don't know what happened since then, because in the last 2 years he's done nothing, and unless he radically changes, he just clearly has shown that he will never be the number one guy on a championship team. He doesn't have the dog in him, basically.
All right, so I want to move on to another topic, but
Anyways.
before that, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell me from before the playoffs to now that you will be being almost a week into the playoffs, and we've seen a lot of surprises. What's your take as far as what you think is going to happen moving to the second, third, fourth round or finals, basically?
No idea, honestly. It could be anybody. I was
Right,
telling you
so-
the other day.
so
I
your
was like,
take basically-
It could be Raptors Rockets in the final, and I wouldn't be
Right, right.
surprised.
So-
I really have no idea.
Exactly. So
'Cause the
before
Lakers-
the playoffs, everybody thought, okay, it's going to be Lakers or Clippers, and then it's going to be the Bucks.
Probably. Yeah.
Now it
The
looks
Bucks
like
don't look good,
right. I mean,
and-
the two number one seeds lost
Yes.
game one.
and the Clippers also lost.
Right. So this bubble thing is bringing a lot of surprises, and obviously home
I
court
think
is out of the
the
window.
teams. Yeah, the one I'm really. I do think the Lakers are still going to beat the Blazers, but in the second round when they have to play the Rockets, that's going to be a tough series.
It is, and it's
I
going to
mean,
demand a lot from LeBron too.
I think honestly, because James Harden obviously I think is one of the best players in the league, and unfortunately he's had to go up against the Warriors every single year in the West and just has come always like this close but just can't beat them. I think this is his best chance at a championship in a long time, because there's no team that I don't think they can't beat. Okay. That doesn't mean they're the favorites, but I think that they can beat the Lakers and they can beat the Clippers, and that's all it takes, right? And then obviously once you get to the finals, who knows? But
Okay.
that's the path.
All right. Well, we'll follow up. I mean, obviously there's big games coming up tonight and the rest of the week. Obviously,
Yeah,
playoffs
the
are
Lakers
like-
play again tonight, so by the time people watch this, they'll know. If the Lakers go down 2-0,
Oh yeah, that's history. Yeah,
That'll
LeBron's gonna
be
somebody's gonna be very
terrible.
pissed off. Yeah, so we'll follow up on this next week. A little bit of our playoff updates. Moving on, we're not leaving California just yet. We talked about the Lakers. Now we're gonna talk about Lyft and Uber, and we discussed that last week. The new law that basically California legislation that basically want to classify Uber and Lyft workers as employees rather than independent contractors, which is a huge difference as far as expenses and everything for the company. So now Lyft has said that they will leave California. Uber is basically
Uber
going
is
to follow
too,
suit.
though. Uber
is
sent
too.
a notification. They didn't say they're leaving, but they sent a notification to everybody in California, their users, that they're suspending services.
Suspending services, correct. So what the fuck? I mean,
Oh,
seriously.
I was gonna say, I don't think people remember what it was like before you had ride sharing.
Right.
Like, people just gonna have to get taxis again. Taxis sucked. You know the reason why Uber and Lyft grew so fast and became such popular companies in such a short period of time? Because it's a significantly better product. It's like going from flip phones to the iPhone.
It's completely seamless. I mean,
It's like, imagine if all of a sudden there was a law and everybody in California had to go back to flip phones. That's like the equivalent, basically.
Exactly. But that's the thing. That's the thing that California is doing now. One of the many wrong things that California is doing now. We have much more to come. But one of them is like, just for this stupid shit to collect more revenue from employees, contractors, Uber, Lyft, whatever, from companies in general, they're fucking up their own state. Because now people are going to say, okay, well, like you said, I mean, it's so seamless. You get to the airport, and when you're getting your luggage or even just walking out, you say, okay, Lyft, Uber, pick me up. I'm going to be at the South Curve.
The airport might be the only place where taxis can fill the
Are
void
more
decently.
available, correct.
But if you're you go to a restaurant, you have a few drinks. Oh, I shouldn't drive home. Now I got to call a fucking taxi company, wait for the dude to come. Hopefully he shows up. Taxis wouldn't even show up half the time, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then you got to find a phone number in a directory somewhere. It's like...
Well, I mean, the cabs, obviously, I think they have their own apps too and all that stuff, but it's nothing compared to what, Uber and Lyft provide, which is the complete seamless convenience
even the paying,
service.
The paying, it just pays automatically. You don't have to say, what's my fare? Think about a tip. You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to do any of that.
And obviously you have background on the driver, what car is coming, everything is,
and it's
you
just
feel
much
more
more
comfortable
widely
with
available.
that stuff. Right. But the other thing is that this is one of those things where it backfires because California is trying to get extra revenue or basically say, hey, classify these workers as employees so we get all this income tax revenue, everything for the state. Guess what? Now you're losing 50,000 people or whatever number of Uber drivers and Lyft drivers are in California that are just going to leave. And you actually end up losing and upsetting your own residents there or your own tourism.
And by the way,
California.
It hurts low-income people too, because the nice thing about all these ride-sharing stuff is like if you don't have money and you need to make $100 quickly, you can do Uber and Lyft. A lot of people do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can just make money really easily. Are you going to get rich doing Uber and Lyft? No, of course not. But if it can give you a little cash that you need, what are you going to... They want people to go get payday loans now? Is that what they want?
I talk to pretty much I don't use Lyft that much. Actually, I don't think I use it almost. I use normally Uber.
I use whatever I have a discount code for. Lyft's strategy is we have less users than Uber, but I'm just going to send you like discount codes all the time.
Right.
And so that's the only reason I use Lyft.
But bottom line is that you talk to his drivers and it's like, I've driven or I've been basically I've ridden in cars with male, female, high income, low income, super modern cars, old cars, whatever, different cities, different countries, whatever, Uber everywhere. And I talked to them and I asked them.
One thing that's funny about Uber in Europe that I noticed is a lot of times they actually have really nice cars.
They do.
Like it's like a limo driver, or
Yes.
not a limo driver, but like a black car driver or whatever.
Like a town car type thing.
That also does Uber. Because I remember one time we were on a trip, business trip in Europe, and this guy...
we were in Madrid. And,
it was in Madrid, and this guy picked us up, and it was like a Lincoln town car. I was like, oh, this is nice.
It was a big... and the guy was basically...
And the guy had a suit on.
He was a chauffeur, yeah.
The
He
guy
was
had
a
a suit
chauffeur
on.
for some kind of other company, but when he's not on duty with this company, he comes with a black suit, tie, everything, black car, perfect. He picks you up, takes you to the airport. I feel like a freaking...
And it wasn't even the, what is it called?
Uber X, which is the most executive, the town car or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was like the basic Uber one. It wasn't like the expensive one.
You pay the basic fare. And I think I asked him, and he said, if I don't have any at this higher fare, I can choose to go at the lower fare, and that's what he did. But either way, I mean, most of these drivers, they do it just because they want to be doing something else. A lot of people, like a lot of male and females, they have a job, something, and then doing something, maybe it's part-time, maybe it's full-time, whatever, but they want to fill their weekends, so they want to fill their after hours. So maybe there's housewives that don't want to be home all day, the kids go to school, they're done or whatever. It just fills that kind of void. And the other thing is that many, I don't know how many, but a great number of these drivers actually do both. They basically work for Uber and Lyft, which... I don't know how they would do that if they're employees of both companies, which is probably one of the things that they're not supposed to do as far as combining. Now, as independent contractors, they can be independent and do whatever they want for each company. So this is one of the things where I always think of the law of unintended consequences, and that California tries to do something, they go to court, and they say, yes, Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and a lot of these
But
gig
the thing
economy
is,
things.
too, it
people,
wasn't just them. Like, so a lot of freelance writers and journalists were affected too. And now they're saying, oh, well, we'll make an exception for the journalists and writers. Like, okay, so that's nice, because those are the people who have a voice, right, and can get in front of people and complain. So we'll make an exception for the journalists so they don't bag on us. But everybody else who doesn't have a voice, fuck you, basically. I mean, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame, though, because
I
I
mean-
love California. You know, obviously, we're in Arizona. It's fucking hot as hell in here. So
It's a
especially
good
in
escape.
the summers, it's really nice to go to California. But, I mean, I
Well,
would
but that's
love
the
to
thing.
live in California.
Well,
but
many times we go to California and we're kind of doubting whether we're going to drive or fly and then just use Uber, Lyft just to move for little trips or things like that. Now we can't. Now, basically, if we go somewhere and we says, no, we just get Uber from here to there, from the airport to the apartment or to the Airbnb, which we'll talk about it, or something else. But now we can't. It's just made it much more inconvenient, you know. So,
but it's a shame, though. It's a
It
shame
is.
because California, and then now on top of that, they have the new taxes as well. And
good,
it's just,
good segue. Let me get to that.
as someone who doesn't live in California now, but I'm still young and I would love to live in California, I don't know, man. I don't know,
You
seriously.
want to switch over officially to the tax topic of California? That could be a while, but let me tell you something.
Well, there's lots of different things. There's the
Well,
income,
yes.
the potential wealth. There's different things.
Yeah, we're going to talk
But-
briefly about both of those. And just a quick disclaimer, we're not tax experts. We're not medical experts. We're no experts on anything here. We're just chatting. Actually, we're experts in digital marketing, which is the one thing that we're not
At least we
talking about.
pretend to be. But
Yeah, we read a lot of stuff on that. But we're not talking digital marketing now. We're actually talking taxes in California. And so, like you said, there's...
yeah, but it doesn't take an expert in taxes to say, holy shit, California's state taxes
Yeah,
are
well,
double
they
Arizona's.
have the highest, with New York, the highest state taxes right now. But that's not enough. They want to increase them. So to the point that I think they have like 13.3 now, and then they want to increase it as much as 3.5%.
Yeah, they want to
for
go up
the
to 16.8. That's so high.
16.8% for the highest income earners, which is they're gonna scale it up from 1 to 2 to 3 to 3.5%. The top income earners, which is for California, is 5 million and above. They're gonna increase 3.5% their state income taxes. Okay, this is nothing to do with the federal income taxes, which brings them to the 16.8 bracket. In addition to the federal income tax, which now also Biden wants to kind of go back to the old brackets that Trump lowered and go back to the 39.6, I think is the top bracket. So basically, you live in California and you are a top earner, you're going to be paying close to 60% basically of
Well,
income
it
tax.
depends what you do. Because if you're a top earner, like, this is why, by the way, like, doctors get screwed. Because doctors, first of all, are employees most of the time. Unless they have their own practice, they're employees. So they can't even have the advantages that a business owner has as far as the tax code go. But they're high earners. So if you work your ass off to become a surgeon and go to years and years of school and all that shit, do your residency, all that, and now you're finally a surgeon, you're making really good, $300K a year, whatever, you're going to pay 60% in taxes and you get fucked. And you can't deduct shit. You're not even a business. At least businesses have different advantages that they can use. If you're an employee of a hospital,
Right.
if you're a surgeon at a hospital, you're fucked.
Anybody with a high income salary, whether it's attorneys, doctors, lawyers, whatever. I mean, even company CEOs, whatever, that are basically employees of their own company. Everybody that is a high income earner basically is.
But at
going
least the
to,
CEOs can kind of
but
finagle. You
not
can
only
lower
that,
your salary and
but keep
do
in
other
mind,
things.
this tax is also applied to capital gains. So
Yeah, that's crazy too.
exactly.
Well, but the other thing too is, so all I was going to say is, So it depends on what you do, your taxes. So if you already, if you're, let's say you are a founder and you found a company and your company is now successful and you're in the highest income tax bracket, but now on top of that, potentially, even though you don't have any realized gains, just your paper shares.
You're talking the wealth tax now?
Yeah, the wealth tax.
Okay, that's different.
Because now on top of that,
That's
they're
a
proposing a
different one.
wealth tax.
Yes.
And
yes.
if you have a company, which is so crazy, because okay, here's my question, right? This happens all the time.
Well, let me back up a second. So,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
It's two different propositions here. One,
Yeah.
the first one is just
The
so
income is almost certainly happening.
Yeah, the income. That's the thing. The one of the caveats of this, I think I wrote it down. Is that's AB 1253. That's the proposition. If they approve that before August 31st, which is basically a week and a half away, it will be effective retroactively, meaning that if you are in one of those brackets making more than 1 million a year in income, basically this is income taxes, this will apply to you for any income you've made since January 1st, 2020. So if you're reporting your taxes, whatever is estimated taxes or calculating your taxes or whatever planning you do for the year, you will be paying an extra up to 3.5% in income taxes for the state at the end of 2020, or basically when you do your taxes by April 2021. So this would be retroactive too. It's not something they say, okay, well, we're gonna do this and then it start applying to 2021 or whatever, and you can do a little better tax planning for yourself. No, this is whatever tax planning you did at the first of the year with your income and everything else that you have in your family or whatever, doesn't fucking matter because they're gonna make it retroactive. So if they approve this by August 31st, like I said, 10 days away, you will have to pay anywhere between 1, 2, or up to 3.5% more state income taxes than you were used to pay. So that's exactly how this is going to work. So you can go from 13.3 if you are the highest bracket to 16.8, just like that. So that's the income taxes. Now we have the other one they call the wealth tax. That one is first in the nation. Okay, there's no precedent of that kind of tax anywhere in the history of the U.S. anywhere. Okay, so California came up now with another proposition that is a different number. It's 2088. So you guys can look it up, AB 2088, 2088, which is the nicknamed the wealth tax, but it's the net worth tax, and that one is a 0.4% of your.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you go search Paul Graham? Go to his blog real quick, because he wrote a great blog that basically showed the long-term effects of
His blog.
Yeah, put up on the screen real quick.
Is that let me see if we find it first before
He's
I put it.
the Y Combinator founder.
Because it's not a.
No, just go to, I don't know what his blog is. Go to Google and just search Paul.
Well, that's what I did. That's Paul Graham.
Let me see. Pull it up here so I can see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Click on that.
Well, that's what I clicked. It didn't come up. With,
Okay. Go to his essays. Here's his most recent one.
He needs a new website, by the way.
Modeling a wealth tax. It's fine. It's very
I'm gonna
simple.
call him.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so here you go. So he made a table, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, this table shows, basically says, here's how much. Because remember, this wealth tax is annually, so it's not a one-time thing.
Right.
It's annually.
Right.
So he said, here's how much stock the government would take over 60 years of various wealth tax. So if you start a company when you're 20, by the time you're 80, how much does the government own of your company at different levels? So at 0.1%. After 60 years, the government owns 6%. 0.5, 26%. 1%, 45%. And then once you get above 1%, it's at 5%, they basically own your company.
Right.
You know, so once you get above 1%, I mean, even 1%, 1%, they end up owning basically half of your company. Because it's 1% a year, every single year.
Right.
So that's the point.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question that I was going to ask before. Okay, so if you have a 1% wealth, I think their proposal was 0.4%.
0.4%, correct.
So if you have a 0.4%, okay. Because this happens a lot. All right, so you have a startup, you start, great idea, you pitch investors, they're in love with it, awesome. Valuation $50 million, okay? So now, on paper, you own... whatever, 60% of a $50 million company, so your net worth on paper is $30 million. You don't have that in cash. That's not worth shit. It's a valuation. Your company doesn't make money yet. You're not even profitable.
And that's what needs to be clarified. That it's a tax on net worth, not on income.
Right.
So you can be making zero money,
right,
but you still owe that
right,
because your net worth
so
is that amount.
Let me finish. So your company is worth $50 million today, okay? And this is year 2 because you have certain growth, whatever. You're looking great. Okay, but then by year 4, it just isn't working out. The company isn't working, whatever. You couldn't make profitability, product market fit, whatever happens, it happens, right? And basically the company isn't working with anything anymore and you shut it down. But for the past 3 years, you've been paying as if you were worth $30 million, but now you're not because all that stock is gone. Do you get that money back? Or does that money stay with them?
No.
Because there's a reason why we don't tax unrealized gains. It's the same reason. Imagine I own a stock that's worth 100 today, and then over the course of a year it goes to 200. And then the government says, well, I don't care if you didn't sell yet or not. Your stock is now worth 200. You need to pay money on those gains. And I say, okay, fine. I need to pay taxes on those gains. But then imagine all of a sudden the stock totally crashes. We have a recession, whatever. The stock's down to 80. I'm losing money now, all the way from 200 to 80, which happens. Do I get that money back? And then I sell. I sell at a loss because I need to cut my losses.
What? I mean, when you sell now, today.
But my point is, there's a reason why we don't tax on unrealized gains, because unrealized gains are just that, they're unrealized. You don't know what's going to happen, okay? Startup valuations these days are insane. You have no idea how to even value things. Companies are worth $100 million without any even revenue yet. So
right.
The idea that a founder now has to pay taxes on that $100 million is crazy.
But
they don't even have the money. Imagine you're a founder with a paper worth of $100 million.
Very liquid. Yeah, exactly.
And you have to pay 0.4% of that? That's $400,000.
That's every year. I mean,
founders
you pay,
don't have $400,000.
You keep paying the same tax over and over, like you said, from the graphic that we just showed. It's not like you normally, when you pay income taxes, you pay income taxes on the income that you made for a year for that bracket. That's where you do taxes every year. And then you made $1 million this year, or you made $50,000 this year, and you pay your proportion of Social Security taxes, Medicare, whatever, and income taxes for the salary that you had that year, for your income. The following year, you pay on the new income, but you don't pay money or taxes on the income you already
It's like
pay
if
taxes.
the government came to you
There's
now.
no double taxation, basically.
It's like if the government said to you now, we're going to have a savings tax, and whatever money in your savings account, we're going to tax that. And you say, what the
over
fuck?
and over and over.
Right. I already paid money on this tax. This is what I
Right.
have left after taxes.
Right. So you have all the risk because
They're double dipping.
Yeah,
They're double dipping. You can't double dip, okay?
Triple dipping, but this is the thing. You were talking stocks. It's not just stocks. I mean, you can have a car collection.
You could have,
You can have
real
an art
estate,
collection.
whatever.
You can have real estate. You can have an investment in. I mean, most entrepreneurs have investments in 10 different companies that they don't even control.
Most people who are that wealthy, like if you're worth $50 million and you're a real estate investor, you don't have $50 million in cash.
Well, yeah.
You don't. If you're worth $50 million as a real estate investor, you probably don't even have $10 million in cash. You might have $5 million in cash.
Yeah.
And the rest of your wealth is just in homes or whatever you own.
Right. So
now you got to sell those assets to pay your taxes.
Right. Well, the one thing that I wanted to clarify is this tax applies to every income above $30 million, which is basically for
wealth, not income.
I'm sorry. The wealth tax is for every wealth assets or net worth above $30 million. But you pay that all the time. Basically.
And the craziest thing too is, by the way, we didn't mention this, it's retroactive.
Right.
For 10 years. So if you left California, if you lived in California and you left in 2012, fucking 8 years ago, they're going to come and collect taxes from you.
It phases out, but yes, even if now you say,
10
shit,
years.
this is coming. Imagine a person like Elon Musk. I'm just giving you a very wealthy person that lives in
But that's an
California.
example.
Let's say that you know about this tax coming and you say, you know what, fuck California, I'm going to move out and I'm going to go to Austin. You know, a lot of people that we know are moving out of California to Texas or places where, by the way, don't have income taxes.
By the way, I have my plan.
Well, 1 second.
I'll give it to you.
So
Remind me
you
of
move
the
out of
plan.
California based on these things that are coming out. You say, you know what? I'm up to here with California with all the shit going on. I'm just gonna move out and go to another state. Whatever you go, a lot of people pick Texas because happens to have no state income taxes like Florida and some other places. So you move out there, but then guess what? California will come and says, yeah, but you lived in California for 10 years or the last 8 years or the last 7 years. So we're still going to be able to, or we're still going to be tracking you down to pay a portion of your net worth taxes to us because that's how you made your money when you were in California. So yeah, it phases out and those terms are being discussed right now. But for up to 10 years, they can go back, and no matter where you live or where you move to, they can still come back to you.
Not unless if I moved to Costa Rica, they can come and get me.
Yeah, well, you can change nationalities and all that stuff, but it's totally crazy. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I said the plan. Okay, you want to live in California, but you want to deal with this insane shit. Okay, well, I did my research. I looked it up.
Oh, you're going to make it public now? Your loophole thing?
This is the plan. So, make your residency in like Texas, right? There's no state income taxes there. They have higher property taxes, so just get a small little dinky apartment so you don't pay a ton in property taxes, okay? You can live... So, as far as you can live by California law up to 9 months a year.
I thought it was 6.
Hold on. 9 months by law, technically, 9 months a year in California and not be a resident. But it looks like from what my research showed, you don't want to be more than 6 months, because if you're more than 6 months, then they're going to tell you, hey, either become a resident or get the fuck out. But 6 months is not bad. You can live in California for 6 months a year. You can go in like 2 months, 2-month stints throughout the year. And the rest of the year you live in Texas or wherever, some low income state, no state income tax state. And still live in California for like 6 months a year. And all you have to do...
How do they...
So hold on. But don't get a lease. Don't rent an apartment. Because if you get a lease, that's one of their criteria of if you have a lease here... You're a resident, okay? Long-term stay, Airbnb. That's the solution. Stay Airbnb, the long-term stays, they have big discounts. And if you're going to stay for a really long time, you can get in contact with the Airbnb host, negotiate a custom price, and then get much bigger discounts than what you could probably get, like, honestly, like 40% off whatever their listed price is. And then you basically live in California without being a resident of California.
And you can actually rent something without even going through Airbnb. I mean, there's a lot of independent...
That's tough.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of independent people that are not listed on Airbnb, and then they rent their places.
Yeah, but they have to report that income. That's the thing. So then they're gonna want you to sign a contract, right? And then once you sign a lease, then you're a resident. So the key is not to sign a lease. The key is to do something like an Airbnb, and then make a deal with the Airbnb host. Say, hey, I'll stay here for 2 months, 3 months at a time. Cut me a special deal, and then you do it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, either way,
that's the plan, huh? That works.
Okay. We're gonna discuss Airbnb briefly, but
and if you really want, right? Because young people always either want to live in California or New York. 6 months a year in California, 6 months a year in New York. Your residency is in Texas. You don't even have to ever be in Texas. There you go. But you don't pay the taxes of either of those places.
Yeah, well, aside from that, as if that wasn't enough for California to be...
Now, don't go spreading this, because we need to keep it our secret, okay?
Right, good thing we only have about 10 listeners for this, or viewers. But the other thing, that California is so screwed up these days. I mean, obviously they have all these fires that are going on now in the summer. I think I was reading the other day, actually this morning, from the governor, Newsom. They said that California so far this year has had 6,754 wildfires. Okay.
But what does that mean? Like, what is that relative to? What's the normal number?
Well, basically, he's comparing it. Last year, at this time of the year, they had 4,000. So the wildfires have increased more than 50% compared to last year.
What counts as a wildfire?
Most of the wildfires are created like spontaneously. In this case,
but if I like light a bush on fire, is that a wildfire?
Well, it needs to be a wildfire. Needs to be something that is wild, that is spreading wildly, out of control, basically, and it's usually created by lightning or some kind of.
But my point: wildfires are normal and healthy. There's nothing wrong with a wildfire.
Not if it's wild. A controlled fire is.
No. I'm talking about. Wildfires happen all the time, but the problem is when they start encroaching on cities.
Well, yeah, that's what.
So I think the number should be how much property damage is done by wildfires.
Well,
is that number
it's not.
up?
It's not. Yeah, everything evacuations. I mean, Northern California right now. Even you and I were actually in that area in Sonoma and Napa Valley and all that stuff about 3 weeks ago, I think. Well, that area has been like hit really, really hard. So they have evacuations. They have lots of property damage. They have lots of pollution. Fire departments are exhausted. Then they have power blackouts right now because the grid is totally exhausted, and now they've lost a lot of in-grid power, so to speak. So they need to have controlled power blackouts that is affecting residents, hotels, hospitals. They have a lot of issues with that stuff. They've had them for like the last 3 to 4 years with all the big wildfires. I mean, last year, remember, it was the one in was it last year or 2 years ago? The one in
There's one in Malibu last year.
Yeah. Okay. So they never recover from that, and now they have all these wildfires going on. It's just becoming crazy because they say global warming, whatever, but in this case, it's all the lightning storms and everything that happened in the summer, and the drought, which basically causes most of the vegetation stuff to be extra dry.
I thought the drought was over.
It's not. I mean, you saw it. We saw it. Like, I've gone to racetracks where you go off track and your car is sitting on dry, weeds or anything.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have a drought. You can have dry plants without having a drought. I thought the drought ended.
I don't think so. Bottom line is that they have more wildfires now than they've had ever before. So then come the fall and the winter and all that stuff. They have mudslides, they have earthquakes, they have this. I mean, California really, it's like, I don't understand the California dreaming that I said in the on the preview of the show, when you say, oh, it's beautiful, the beaches and all that stuff. There's a lot of negativity about California. I mean, you see major cities, the homeless situation there in California in major cities.
I'm not talking about the government. I think the California government is completely incompetent. But I'm saying, forget about the government. I'm saying the location and the weather, the beautiful beaches and scene. I mean, I think it's for me, because I'm not a big I like sunshine. Okay, I know some people prefer to live in cloudy, rainy places and be depressed. That's fine. That's not me. I like sunshine and cool weather, and California is probably the best place for that. Yeah, Florida has beaches, but it's humid as shit. I mean, so
yeah.
And then once you go to like Oregon, Washington, up there, yeah, they have beaches, but it's fucking cold and rainy all the time. So California. Right. Now, I've told you my proposition before. The real solution to fix California's problems.
Oh, the splitting or something you said?
We need to break up big California. Forget the big banks. Big California needs to be broken up. We need to make it into 2 or 3 states, all separated, and make them compete. The reason California gets away with all their shit is because they own the most valuable land in the country, and there's nothing anybody can do about it, basically. It's the best land in the country, or some of the best land in the country, and they own all of it, basically. If you split it up, so you have like northern, central, and southern California, and they have to compete, it would be much better. I guarantee it, it'd be much better.
Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, or I'm not sure if it's a joke, but
I think it would never happen. But yeah. I think it would actually
It'll
work.
Never happen, exactly. But
think
about
it. They
sad.
have a monopoly. The California government complains about tech monopolies. They have a geographic monopoly.
But the sad thing is that California is one of the is one of the highest tourist destinations for the entire world.
Right.
I mean, Hollywood is based there, tech, Silicon Valley in the north and everything, and then you have San Diego and all the coastal cities and beaches, and I mean, it seems
there's
unreal.
nowhere else in the country where you can drive for 3 hours straight along beach towns.
Right. I mean, it has such a beautiful
That's what I'm saying.
allure for tourism, for residents, for everybody, that I don't know what's happened lately in the last, I'd say maybe 10 years. It's become completely fucked up. I don't know why. I mean, it's like the state is in constant bankrupt or semi-close to bankrupt status, and they keep increasing taxes, and now they're taxing more, and they're taxing more stuff, and it's like more people are living.
I don't think most people know this. California is so rich by GDP that I think if they were their own country, I think they would be the 9th highest GDP in the world. I think
absolutely.
it's ninth.
Yeah, it
bigger than like
fluctuates.
Italy, bigger than Spain, a lot of countries.
Yes, but at
Like,
the same time,
it's crazy.
They're broke all the time.
No, I know.
And they have all this, and they have one of the highest per capita income, specifically in the major cities. They have some of the highest income by county, like obviously Orange County and some of the northern and by the Bay. But they're always broke. You don't see anything getting better. I mean, since we live in Arizona, and we basically go to California fairly frequently, and I don't see things getting better. You go to San Francisco,
No, San Francisco definitely not. San Francisco, it's really sad.
it's sad. I mean, the homelessness problem there, I don't know how it cannot be solved, but the fact that you're in a major street tourism area destination and you have people laying down the streets and nobody's doing anything about it, I mean, I don't understand it. And in California, in Los Angeles and stuff, it's the same thing. You have great neighborhoods, and then you have an overpass where it's like tent city. Or not even tent city, it's like sleeping bag city. You have homeless people just camping there. And the city does anything about it. Not only that, they actually say, "Hey, here's a porta john, so at least you go
Well,
to
one
you guys
thing
go
is
to a
having
bathroom."
homeless people, but and because I have tremendous sympathy, but a different thing
But
is
it's not about sympathy.
letting them do crimes and like smoke crack in the streets
they're totally
and do
drugged up.
heroin wide out broad
Listen, you
daylight.
go to-
Like there was a video of a Walgreens in San Francisco that was totally looted and empty and basically the police just would not enforce, and the Walgreens had to shut down. Walgreens basically said, "We're shutting down the store because we're getting shoplifted every day, and half the shelves were empty in the store." And they said the police won't do anything about it, so they
Listen,
shut down the store.
You go
That's
to
crazy.
Hollywood Boulevard with all the famous stars and everything. You go there anytime, really. I mean, in the morning it's like dead empty, but you go in the afternoon, evenings, and you see all these people that are like sitting down on the street with signs to give them money. I mean, there's signs that I actually took pictures last year, I think it was, with homeless people saying, please donate. I mean, some people say I'm a war veteran, this and that, obviously, and some other guys just say, "Hey, I don't want to lie to you. Please pay me something for my drugs." I was like, what the fuck? I mean, they even tell you there is like, you give them a sandwich, they don't want it. They just want money so they can buy more drugs. And that thing needs to be solved. I don't understand how these governors and all that stuff just look the other way. Police just looks the other way. I mean, and they're sitting there in a public tourist destination.
It's a mental health issue.
It is a
ultimately.
mental health issue,
And
of
they
course.
need help, but nobody's helping them.
Exactly.
That's
the
the
point.
problem.
Everybody needs help, whether it's financial help, shelter, mental health, whatever. But it'll be put all that money. If you're collecting so much money, put them in a residence of some sort that you can take care of them. Have psychologists help them, or divide them into different categories. I mean, it just cannot keep growing that way, and people ignoring it. And in the meantime, they say, when it comes to taxes, and we were talking this before, I don't mind. I mean, taxes, yes, the government doesn't sell
the
shit.
funny thing
the government
is-
funding is only through taxes.
The funny thing is,
and
though-
you want to live in a nice city, it's like a gated community. Okay, you live in a gated community, you're going to pay more home ownership fees or residence fees, whatever, but you see that the landscape is perfectly manicured, that they take care of these things. Something breaks, they fix it right away. It's the same thing for the cities, for the states, for the governments, for the federal government. You pay taxes and you see your taxes to work, and they've built highways and all that stuff. But when you go to California and you see all these taxes being raised over and over again, and taxes go up,
Well, that's what I was
living
going to
goes
say.
down.
So the funny thing is, as much as I say California's taxes are high, which they are relative to other states, like for me, I've said before, I would rather pay more to my local taxes than to the federal government, because like this year when I paid my taxes, basically $7 out of every $8 I paid in taxes this year went to the federal government. Only 1 out of 8 went to my local government, in this case Arizona. I would rather pay more here. Like if you told me what would the split be, I'd rather it be like 50-50 or something, so I don't mind paying local taxes. But in the case of California, the problem is California has the biggest budget by far of any state. They have so much money because they have so many rich people there. I mean, California is just the richest state. They make so much money, but it's poor governance. The answer for California's problems is not more money to the government. It's more competency. And unfortunately, as is always the case with government, everybody always just says, oh, we need more money, more money, more money. But that's not the answer. That's not. In some cases, more money is the answer. But in most cases, when it comes to the government, it's competency and efficiency that needs to be improved, not more money. If you just give, it's no different than, like, if I have a hedge fund and you give me money and every year I'm losing money, and I say, yeah, but I just need more money because then I can hire more researchers and analysts and then we'll be successful. And okay, you say, so instead I'm going to raise my fees a bit and then you're going to pay me more money. And you say, okay, fine. But after 5 years of the same thing, you would say, you know what, David, I'm not giving you money for your hedge fund
That's why
anymore.
I understand when people are, I mean, I know a lot of people that are moving out of California. I'm not talking, the people that you see in the news, like the wealthy people or famous people or whatever. I know
just everyday Californians.
Yeah, everyday Californians
They get fed up.
that
I
have
know.
jobs and they just get fed up and say, you know what? It's just so inconvenient to
I
live
don't
here.
think
I can go do my job
Of all the
from
people
other
in
places.
California I've talked to, on both sides, it's not even a left-right thing. I don't think I've met anybody who's like, oh, I'm a big fan of Gavin Newsom. Literally.
Yeah, but
on both sides, I don't think anybody likes him. You know?
Right. No. I mean, even I don't want to get into the COVID situation, but aside from that, I mean, one of the attractions that California has, one of the many, is obviously the beautiful beaches stuff, and then they tell you that the beaches are closed, social distancing, all the stuff. You can only go to exercise, but you can all lay down in the sun. I mean, there's tons of incongruencies there that they just don't make any sense. But I mean, it's not even a. I don't want to get into this governor or the other governor. It's just the state in itself. It's just it's sad. It's disappointing. So, like you said, I mean, everything that is going on there is just negative issues, like the Uber and Lyft that we just talked, the fires, the mudslides, this and nothing gets solved or anything. So, bless you. All right. So, next topic. Speaking of your Airbnb solution, Airbnb filed for IPO. It was a confidential filing, which I guess it means that they don't have to disclose financials or how many shares they will put out for the public, but there's like preliminary filing with the SEC.
But how does that work? How can they not say the shares?
Well, at this point,
but eventually they will have to.
Eventually, they will have to. I'm not sure. Okay. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how that works. But at this point, what they're doing is doing like a initial filing with the SEC, where at this point they don't have to disclose financials and disclose how many shares they will sell. But the filing is there, meaning that that's their intent. I'm sure they'll go typical tour and everything, but the bottom line is that Airbnb was the hottest IPO that was planned for, I think it was for this year, for 2020. Yeah. And then when COVID happened,
they were supposed to go public last year and they didn't. And then they said they're going to do it this year, and that was a bad decision because COVID screwed them.
Yeah, so they were valued as much as $38 billion back in 2017. I think is the last round where they were valued at that money. And then this year, as of April, which is the last round of, they issue some debt and everything else to basically overcome this crisis, and now they're valued at $18 billion. So they lost about 50% of the valuation compared to.
And they go public at $18 billion. I think that's a very reasonable price.
That's a very.
I would invest at $18 billion.
Yes.
This is not investment advice, but I might buy shares if that's what they're going public at.
I mean, we were talking another topic. I mean, I don't want to deviate too much from this, but yeah, I think Airbnb has a lot of. It's funny because
Airbnb was profitable. They're not like Uber where they were losing money. Now this year is different because of COVID.
They were pretty profitable,
but before they were profitable.
And even now with remember that you and I were talking about when we were saying about going to hotels and all that stuff, and I don't feel safe, with the COVID and all that. And I've been to hotels actually, and I see all these things that they say, oh, we're COVID conscious and blah. I mean, I didn't see any difference other than it's much more inconvenient because nobody's taking care of you at the front desk. They have all these shields. You have to do everything online. But then once you get to your room, the room looks exactly the same. There's nothing specific in the room that is different than pre-COVID. And then you cannot go to any restaurant in the hotel. They're mostly closed, so you have to go somewhere else. So really, the hotel life has become more of an inconvenience for me at this point. Resorts may be a little different, but the typical hotel, like you go to an urban hotel, I don't know. Maybe now it's better, but I was always,
there. Unless it's just a quick 1 or 2 day stay, anything that's more than like like even if it's like 3-4 plus days, I always prefer Airbnb now.
Right. And Airbnb, yeah, because you rent, supposedly you can go rent your whole place, the whole apartment, the whole house, condominium, whatever, and then you are there for like 4, 5, 6 days. I think it's yours. It's like your home away from home. I mean, you clean up your things and all that stuff.
Hotels are so expensive. I mean, honestly.
They are.
They're so expensive. And for what? Like, I honestly don't give a shit about a maid cleaning my room. Like, that, I don't need that for the 2 days that I'm there.
There's a lot of surcharges from hotels that are
They charge you so much money for little things.
You see a rate advertised, and then you have the convenience fee and the resort fee and the other fee and the parking fee and all that stuff.
Airbnb does that shit too.
They do.
That's not very fun.
Well, they do, but it's more.
Most of the time, whenever you see an Airbnb price, if you see, it's $100 a night, it's gonna end up being like $140.
No, but they tell you. I mean, when you pay and you do your thing, you see the whole fare there. Obviously, you see the cleaning fee, or sometimes they're waived, and then they give you the long-term stay or whatever. So they have a similar pricing model. And now the states are also trying to get their own taxes and all that stuff on top. But the bottom line is that Airbnb has become a little more successful as far as attracting guests back into traveling, because first of all, the rural areas that have Airbnb locations grew exponentially, because now all of a sudden everybody wanted to get away from the city and be more isolated, from COVID. So they went to locations that normally were not so populated, so they were to like rural or smaller locations, smaller cities outside of the major metro areas. So those grew, and then now Airbnb is cashing in on basically selling people the entire, experience and everything, or basically going to an apartment where you get the whole thing. It's like, okay, well, it's just as safe as your house. Once it's totally clean before you get in, and then obviously the virus doesn't transmit so much when they have space in between bookings, so you have a 1 day off or whatever. So if there's a virus, it'll die or whatever. And then once you go in, it's on your own discretion to be basically taking care of contagions and cleaning and all that stuff. So it's much more, it seems safer, that you control more than having a maid that is going to touch everything in your room every day and you don't know where that's coming from. So anyways, but they're hopefully going public. I think 18 billion, if that's the valuation. Obviously, we don't know yet, but that's a good valuation. We were talking about TikTok last couple of weeks. I think maybe Microsoft buying it for what, 50...
It was 30.
It was 30, and they set up as much as possible 50. Now Oracle is apparently bidding for it too. But when you put in perspective what Microsoft is paying for a social media platform versus,
yeah, but
I know it's completely different. But then you see a company going public like Airbnb that was profitable before, and they have presence and more rooms than all other hotel chains combined as far as members, and now they're buying booking engines. They're buying hotel chains, so they're basically allowing hotel chains to be part of their system as well, or their reservations if they are unique boutiques and so forth. I think it has a great future. I think I'm also, I'll be okay investing if that was the case. Obviously, we'll see what the actual price per shares are, but I'm happy. I'm happy that Airbnb has the courage, to say, hey, we're still going forward. We're gonna go public.
Yeah, well, and, I think a lot of I just think, a lot of the people that have been working there for a long time are ready to, cash out. Now, maybe they sold secondary. I don't know. Probably, I'm sure a lot of them did. But it's time for the payday. There's no reason for a company that big to not be public at this point. I think they're ready. And it gives them more leverage for acquisitions and stuff too. It's much easier to make acquisitions when you're public. When you're private, that's one of the disadvantages of being private, is that M&A is much harder.
Yes, and primarily it's also
and fundraising.
Exactly.
But in Airbnb's case, the reason was because they had so much funding, they didn't need the fundraising. But
they do now. I mean, they were issuing debt to basically overcome all the expenses from the COVID situation, the pandemic. I mean, obviously hotels and all that stuff. And Marriott just declared, I think it was last week, the first loss in, I think it was 9 years as far as quarterly revenue. So that's a big hotel chain that has properties all over the world. So Airbnb obviously went through their own struggles, but they were private, so they kind of flew under the radar. But now the next way to raise cash is by going public. And but yeah, like you said, I mean, it's something that was planned already, and then obviously I think IPOs this year decreased like nosedive. But this is the major company that is going public, and I'll be curious to see when it does. They say that they still want to do it this year, so we'll have about 4 months left, and it's going to be interesting to see what the final share price comes up, or how many shares are issued for the IPO and all that stuff. So, all right, so that's pretty much everything we have for today. Any other comments that you'd like to add or anything?
Nope, I think that's it. Any soccer games you're gonna watch this week? Barcelona got trashed.
Yeah,
I always like to see that.
Yeah. I'm not a Barcelona fan, and I'm happy that money doesn't buy scores, and they got trashed by Bayern Munich. 8-2, I think it was a score, with including Messi and all the Barcelona stars. So they fired the coach, which is something that happens always first, and then we'll have to figure out what the rest is. No, but you know what? The Champions League final is this weekend. I think it's Sunday.
Who's in it?
Which is basically Bayern. PSG for the first time and Bayern Munich.
Bayern's gonna win it.
PSG obviously has Neymar.
PSG hasn't looked good though.
Well, PSG bought.
They were barely beating teams, like bad teams.
They beat Leipzig. The guys that beat Atletico.
But what was the score?
Pretty good. I think it was 3-0 or 3-1 or something.
They beat Lyon 2-1 or something.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Lyon's not even good.
But anyway, so the good thing is that PSG back in the days they acquired Neymar, and they had Edison Cavani and all that stuff.
No, I know.
Back in the days.
It's
so they spent all this
star
money.
power
It's
team.
owned by this rich
Arab guy.
Yeah. And so he basically put a lot of money into a team, got all the best players, basically went to like almost the Barcelona route, and they took Neymar from Barcelona and all these big stars, and they never capitalized on doing anything, not even getting to a final.
So, and all these young guys.
So this is the first final they're gonna go to, but it'll be a nice final. I mean, Bayern Munich is always being a strong team, and they had a rebuild period, and now they're back to being strong, and they're very strong. And then I think that the Bayern Munich is going to be the favorite, but I think PSG is a good rival.
If you could choose to have one guy for the next 5 years, would you rather have Neymar or Pogba?
One guy, I don't really know if I like any of those two. I've never been a fan of Neymar's.
I think Pogba.
Pogba is good, but he is also very temperamental, in my opinion. And Neymar,
I think Pogba, once Messi is gone, in a few years, is gonna be the best player in the world.
Yeah, I like Dembele. I like some other guys too, but we'll see. Messi is at the tail end of his career too, so we'll see. But it's funny because like Ronaldo went to Juventus and they done nothing. I mean, yeah, they win leagues and stuff, but that's not the main goal. I mean, they wanted to won Champions Leagues, you know. Yeah. But the other main event this weekend too is the Indianapolis 500. So normally, as everybody knows, it's Memorial Day weekend. This year was postponed, and now it's finally happening this Sunday.
Are they going to do in F1? Are they going to still do Monaco this year or no?
No, Monaco was canceled.
But they're not going to do it.
No. Monaco. Well, Monaco was impossible to
normally
schedule.
Monaco is the same day as Indianapolis.
Yes, it's Memorial Day weekend, Sunday. Yeah, exactly. It's way early in the morning for us. But then, no, Monaco. From the beginning, Monaco is very hard to schedule because it's in the middle of the city.
I just was wondering if they would.
And if they have that week blocked for F1 because they shut down the city basically, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And they from the beginning said, we're done. We're not going to reschedule for later.
They're only doing tracks. They're not doing any street tracks.
It's not like you have a track in the middle of nowhere and then people go or not go or whatever, or no spectators or whatever. Monaco is
I guess you couldn't even have a bubble because you're just in the city.
Right, exactly. It's the middle of the city, so you can't really have it. So, no, it was shut out. So, no, I don't think Formula One specifically is going to come to the U.S. or to the Americas. No, they are off this weekend, and then they go to a traditional European racetracks. Like they go to Spa first in Belgium, and then they go to Monza, and then they have all these Italian
Spa's
and Portuguese.
Favorite, right?
Is one of them. Yeah, it's a fast track. Yeah, very good. This weekend
is that on your bucket list to drive at Spa?
Drive.
Just do a lap around Spa.
I love to. Yeah, I love to drive a Spa and the Nürburgring.
Do they let average Joe monkeys just drive around Spa?
They have open track days. Most of the tracks they have that kind of thing where you go club racing or open track and things like that. So I mean, the racetracks are not usually just close to big weeks. I mean, they need to be open 365 days a year, and they need to make money. So they have club racing. It's the same thing here. I mean, I go to Coda all the time. I go to Laguna Seca. I go to Infineon, not Infineon anymore. It's called Sears Point. Most of the tracks, it doesn't matter what category track. I mean, yeah, when they have main events, they're closed for the main
Right, I
events.
know.
But you can go race with other events and spend the day at the track, and it's great. So yeah, in Europe it's the same thing. I've been as a spectator to many of those
See, the
tracks.
nice thing is if you move to Austin, then you just
I know.
have COTA, Circuit of the Americas, right in your backyard.
I know. I love that racetrack. I'm my best buddy.
That's probably your biggest perk of living in Austin.
Yes.
Because
in
now,
fact,
whenever you want to go there, it's like a
that's
long-ass trip.
why I want you to move there, because then
Yeah.
I will rent
You're gonna
your garage.
you're gonna sleep on my spare bedroom.
No, the bedroom one is sleeping. I don't care, because I usually stay at the track. But I want to rent your garage, so I don't have to move all the shit from here to COTA. I can just leave it there, and then just take it to a
Well, my
track.
garage doesn't come cheap. Okay.
Well, it's definitely cheaper than moving the whole stuff over there. So, all right. Well, let's keep dreaming. California, please don't make everybody's
I'm
life
gonna
so
make a
difficult.
song called Texas Dreaming, and everybody's gonna want to live in Texas now.
I think we're gonna make a song that is gonna be Airbnb California instead of Hotel California. I'm gonna call the Eagles and the ones that are still alive and say, can you please make one song that is as famous as Hotel California, which, by the way, is still my favorite song of all times, and make it Airbnb California. Welcome to Airbnb California.
Yeah,
That
that
would be the
really
same.
flows.
Yeah, well, I suck as a singer. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you for sticking with us. You are listening all the way to the end. Congratulations. And if not, you missed
Congratulations,
the
you
best
wasted
part.
an hour of your time.
Yeah, the punchline is always at the end. And you have a joke of the day? No.
No, I don't.
That's good. All right, guys. We'll see you next weekend. In the
I
meantime,
think the joke of the day is California's government.
yeah, that's the joke of the decade.
That's
I
the
think.
joke of the decade.
That's the joke.
That's
of
the joke of the day every day.
Yeah, that's the joke of the decade. Hopefully, we have good things to say about our dear neighbors. If not, I'm going to get a big hacksaw and cut the state line between Arizona and California. We'll have a beach. Who the fuck needs California anymore?
I mean, if the big earthquake does come,
yeah.
I mean, think about the property.
Well, I moved to
values.
Arizona thinking it was going to happen.
Think about how much more valuable your home would be
I know. I thought
if all of a sudden a beach popped
I
up.
told friends that I was buying a beachfront property, and they said, "What are you talking about? You're in the middle of the desert." I said, "Just wait. 20 years later, I'm still waiting, and it's like I still don't have a beachfront property." So, all right. We'll see you next week. Thanks, David, and be back soon. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.